Hi, if you're in here, come on into the chat room. And everyone that is normally a reader, well, I would like you to come into the broadcast. The way that happens is I put out a link. It's like a gold link, and you just click on that. You'll come to the backstage. I'll see you there, and then I'll let you in. And I can bring at least 10 people into the broadcast. Everybody else will have to stay in the chat room. So if you're normally a reader, or have a lot of comments, come into the broadcast. I'm going to put the link out there right now. Okay. Okay, so that's the link to come into the broadcast. See, it says Sparking You as y'all there, and then it has that link. Just click on that, and it should bring you to the broadcast. All the readers come on into the broadcast. Tad, Mark Wyatt, just click on that link I just put out there. It should work. Right there it is again. And so you can come into the broadcast with me. I can bring 10 people in here. Tad, you know how to do it. Click on the link and come in. So I'll need readers.
You can see you, but
okay, there you are.
See me, can you? All right, that's good.
Okay, Dwight, I'm just going to mute you here for just a second.
Yes.
How you doing?
No, doing great. Doing great.
Okay, I need some readers to come into the broadcast. Mark Wyatt, you know how to do it. Just click on the link. It'll bring you to the back room, backstage, and I'll let you in. Tad? Lou? I need more people in the broadcast. Okay, thanks, Mark. I'll just mute you for a second, brother. Once you're in the broadcast, you have to turn off YouTube, but don't turn off StreamYard. Just turn off YouTube so it doesn't echo, but stay on StreamYard. Just X off of YouTube and stay on StreamYard. Okay, Dad, make sure you click off of YouTube and stay on StreamYard, brother. I'm gonna mute you for a second. Okay. Anybody else? Lou? Need some other people in here. I can put up to 10 in here. I'm not muted. Everybody that can hear, everybody can hear me, right? Dwight, you have to unmute yourself. There you go. Really, when we're speaking, you know, if somebody's talking, we all have to mute our mic so that there's not an echo. And if you have to turn off YouTube, stay on StreamYard, or we'll have really bad echoes. Joyce, you can hear me. Jocelyn, you can hear me. That's good. Annie, I'm not muted. Other people are hearing me. Mark White, are you hearing me?
Yes, brother. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Danny, it must be your mic or something on your computer, Matt. We have still got people coming in.
Well, maybe we're doing this right. So,
There's Yami.
Hi.
There you are. Y'all know that you got to turn off YouTube, right? But stay on StreamYard.
We have to turn off YouTube?
Yes. Stay on StreamYard, but just X out YouTube so you don't echo. If you don't, you can just feedback between the two.
So it's this leave where I hit the X that says leave?
Not StreamYard. It's just where your YouTube is. Just go up there and X off YouTube. And leave StreamYard. Leave StreamYard alone. Okay. Turn off at the bottom of there. You can turn off your cam if you want to, or mute yourself. We'll be muting and unmuting ourselves, okay? So we don't get that close. Danny, just X off YouTube, stay on StreamYard, brother. And then you can control your mic there in your cam too, if you want. Yami and Rule, you turned off your cam. There you go. I thought maybe I lost you. All right, we should have people coming in. Our picture just shows people in the chat room. If people are just watching, we won't see them counted until at the end of it ends. Then you go back on and see how many people are watching. Okay, Gibson girl, there you go. There you go. We got you, Gibson girl. We can't see you though. Can you undo your mic and web so I know you're on there, Rebecca? Okay, you're unmuted. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4 more can come on the broadcast.
Thank
Still people coming in.
well, maybe we off of YouTube. Sound
On
we
there,
broke up.
Rebecca?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I see you though.
Can you?
4 more can come. Yes. There's on Zoom. So I'm gonna let them know we're on YouTube here.
Pretty sure you're on YouTube.
Looks like we did.
Yeah. Dale para abajo, para así. Como, a ver si anda bien. He's trying to go. Déjala. Deja ella. Ahí estamos nosotros. Estamos 2 veces.
I'm amazed how many people are asking me how come we're not on Zoom on Answering Live. But that was pretty clear what we were doing. Okay, people are still coming in. I'm glad everybody's here. Let me see. We got Bruce wanting to come on. There he is. Hi, Bruce. Make sure you turn off YouTube, brother. You know how to do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Everybody. Who just dropped? Rebecca. We lost Rebecca.
I was trying to get it to get the microphone, but it doesn't come out now.
Ahí está Bruce.
Everything is too big.
Just a few more minutes here. There's people coming on.
Ahí apareció lo del mic. No. Y nos dice, el que tiene el...
I wonder why the counter wasn't working right, but now it's working.
How can we block a mic?
We can hear you, Yummy.
Oh.
You just muted yourself.
You want us to mute?
Hit mute if you're going to be talking. Go ahead and mute. There you go. We were having a conversation. Everybody can try to mute, you know, so it's not muting on mute. Danny, can you mute? Just so you know what you're doing. There you go, Tad. Danny?
I don't see a place to mute.
Okay, it's down at the bottom there.
Oh, there it is.
There you go. So when you want to talk, just unmute, okay? Just keeps the feedback and the echoing out so it doesn't interfere. Yeah, I know we lost Rebecca. I'm trying to wait for her to come back on. Sometimes she has problems with her internet connection up there where she's at. When she comes back on there, I guess we'll get started. You got about 3 more minutes, so we'll wait for other people coming on. Several people that text me wanted to know why we weren't on Nazarene Life. Should be popping on here. I text them and let them know we were on the YouTube channel. So I guess Margaret's with family, so she's not going to, that's why we're doing it this way. It'll be a little difficult, but I think we're going to make it through it. All right. There's another one wanting to know why we're not doing Nazarene Life. Hang on a minute. All right. Hi, Lucas. Glad you're here, bro. All right. Just a couple more that pop. I don't know where Rebecca went. Must be having internet issues. Lou, are you going to come on? Lou White, you going to come on the broadcast? I'd like to fill this broadcast up if we can. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on here. Rebecca would have been 7. All right. Just a couple more minutes, and then we're going to start. All right. Well, we got 2 minutes, and we'll get started. Hadassah, glad you're here. Our counter's not working again for some weird reason. I think it quits counting the people in the broadcast and then it pops back on. It's kind of strange. Phil, good. I'm glad you're here. Lou White, you going to come on the broadcast before we get started? We're going to get started in 1 minute. We'll be continuing on our study in the book of Acts. Hi, Dave.
Hi, Mark.
Glad you're here, brother.
Hi, everybody.
Kind of, you know how you've been on here before. Kind of mute yourself. No, we lose now. We just lost somebody else, Mark Wyatt. Come on back on, Mark. Hi, Toria. Here's Mark coming back on. There you go, brother. We lost you.
Hey, I plugged in my phone and it decided to change everything on me.
Yeah, I like your bandana deal there, man. That's pretty cool. My favorite color. All righty. Poor Rebecca. I think she lost connection, guys. She'll be back, hopefully. All right. Lou is preparing, it says, so I don't know what that means, but all right. I guess we're going to get started now. Can we get a reader? We're going to start in chapter 6. Who would like to read chapter 6? Mark Wyatt?
I'll do it.
Want to give it a go?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm going to mute. Everybody mute themselves. And all right. We're here on Sparking You is Yah channel, the Netzarim Life broadcast, which broadcasts every 6 day, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're here every week. We've moved our Zoom at Noon Netzarim Life channel over here because of the absence of Margaret. And welcome everyone to Zoom at Noon, presented by NetzarimLife.com. And we'll begin with our guest speaker, Mark Wyatt.
Okay.
It's all yours.
And in those Yamim, when the Talmudim were increasing, there arose a grumbling against the Hebrews by the Hellenists, because their widows were overlooked in the daily serving. So the 12 summoned the group of the Talmudim and said, "It is not pleasing for us to leave the word of Elohim and serve tables. Therefore, brothers, seek out from among you 7 men who are known to be filled with the Ruach HaKodesh and wisdom, and whom we shall appoint for this duty, but we shall give ourselves continually to prayer and to serving the word." And the word pleased the entire group. And they chose Stephanos, a man filled with belief in the Ruach HaKodesh, and Philip, and Prochorus, and Nicanor, and Timon, and Parmenas, and Nicolaos, a convert from Antioch, whom they set before the emissaries. And when they had prayed, they laid hands on them. And the word of Elohim spread, and the number of the Talmudim increased greatly in Jerusalem, and a great many of the priests were obedient to the belief. And Stephanos, filled with belief and power, did great wonders and signs among the people. But some of those called the congregation of freedmen, Cyrenians, Alexandrians, and those from Cilicia and Asia, rose up disputing with Stephanos, but they were unable to resist the wisdom and the Ruach by which he spoke. Then they instigated men to say, "We have heard him speak blasphemous words against Moshe and Elohim." And they stirred up the people and the elders and the scribes, so they came upon him, seized him, and brought him to the council. And they set up false witnesses who said, "This man does not cease to speak blasphemous words against this set-apart place and the Torah. For we have heard him saying that this Yahushua of Nazareth shall overthrow this place and change the instructions which Moshe delivered to us." And all those who sat in the council, looking steadily at him, saw his face as was like the face of a heavenly messenger.
Are they speaking?
Muted.
Oh, there he is.
Tad, would you like to take chapter 7?
Who?
Tad or Yami, somebody. Yeah, I was muted. I got somebody, whoever this is down there trying to get in. I'm sorry, I can't get to you for some reason.
Muted.
It's down below my screen. No. Why that's happening.
Dilo ahora, que no te veo.
Dad, are you going to read, brother?
Yeah, I'll excuse me. I'll read chapter 7.
Okay, go ahead.
And the high priest said, "Is this so?" And he replied, "Men, brothers, and fathers, listen. The Elohim of esteem appeared to our father Abraham when he was in Aram Naharaim, before he dwelt in Haran, and said to him, Come out of your land, excuse me, and from your relatives, and come here into a land that I shall show you. Then he came out of the land of the Chaldeans and dwelt in Haran. And from there, after the death of his father, he removed him to this land in which you now dwell. And he gave him no inheritance in it, not a foot of it, but he promised to give it to him for a possession and to his seed after him, when as yet he had no child. And Elohim spoke in this way, that his seed would be sojourning in a foreign land, and that they would be enslaved and mistreated 400 years. And the nation to whom they shall be enslaved I shall judge, said Elohim, and after that they shall come out and serve me in this place. And he gave him the covenant of circumcision. And so he brought forth Yitzchak and circumcised him on the 8th Yom. And Yitzchak begat Jacob, and Jacob begat the 12 ancestors. And the ancestors, becoming jealous, sold Yusuf into Mitzrayim. But Elohim was with him, and delivered him out of all his afflictions, and gave him favor and wisdom before Pharaoh, sovereign of Mitzrayim. And he appointed him governor over Mitzrayim and all his house. Then a scarcity of food and great distress came over all the land of Mitzrayim and Canaan, and our fathers found no food. But Jacob heard that there was grain in Mitzrayim, and he sent out our fathers the first time, and at the second time Yusuf was made known to his brothers, and Yusuf's race became known to the Pharaoh. And Yusuf sent and called his father Jacob and all his relatives to him, 75 people. And Jacob went down to Mitzrayim and died, he and our fathers. And they were brought over to Shechem and laid in the tomb that Abraham bought for a price of silver from the sons of Hamor, father of Shechem. But as the time of the promise drew near, which Elohim had sworn to Abraham, the people increased and multiplied in Mitzrayim until another sovereign arose who did not know Yusuf. Having dealt treacherously with our race, this one mistreated our fathers, making them expose their babies so that they should not live. At that time, Moshe was born, and he was well-pleasing to Elohim, and he was reared 3 months in the house of his father. But when he was exposed, the daughter of Pharaoh took him up and reared him as her own son. And Moshe was instructed in all the wisdom of the Mitzrites, and was mighty in words and works. And when he was 40 years old, it came into his heart to visit his brothers, the children of Yisrael. And seeing one of them being wronged, he defended and revenged him who was oppressed, smiting the Mitzrite. And he thought that his brothers would have understood that Elohim would give deliverance to them by his hand, but they did not understand. And the next Yom, he appeared to 2 of them as they were fighting, and urged them to peace, saying, Men, you are brothers. Why do you wrong one another? But he who was wronging his neighbor pushed him away, saying, "Who made you a ruler and a judge over us? Do you wish to kill me as you killed the Mitzrite yesterday?" And at this saying, Moshe fled and became a traveler in the land of Midian, where he fathered 2 sons. And after 40 years were completed, a messenger of Yahuah appeared to him in a flame of fire in a bush in the wilderness of Mount Sinai. And Moshe, seeing it, marveled at the sight, and coming near to see, the voice of Yahuah came to him, saying, "I am the Elohim of your fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, and the Elohim of Yitzchak, and the Elohim of Yaakov." And Moshe trembled and did not have the courage to look. But Yahuah said to him, "Take your sandals off your feet, for the place where you stand is set apart ground. I have certainly seen the evil treatment of my people who are in Mitzrayim, and I have heard their groaning and have come down to deliver them. And now come, let me send you to Mitzrayim." This Moshe, whom they had refused, saying, "Who made you a ruler and a judge?" This one Elohim sent to be a ruler and a deliverer by the hand of the messenger who appeared to him in the bush. This one led them out after he had done wonders and signs in the land of Mitzrayim and in the Red Sea and in the wilderness 40 years. This is the Moshe who said to the children of Yisrael, "Yahuah your Elohim shall raise up for you a prophet like me from your brothers. Him you shall hear. This is he who was in the assembly in the wilderness with the messenger who spoke to him on Mount Sinai, and with our fathers who received the living words to give to us, to whom our fathers would not become obedient, but thrust away, and in their hearts they turned back to Mitzrayim, saying to Aharon, 'Make us mighty ones to go before us. For this Moshe who led us out of the land of Mitzrayim, we do not know what has become of him.' And they made a calf in those Yomim, and brought an offering to the idol, and were rejoicing in the works of their own hands. So Elohim turned and gave them up to worship the host of the heaven, as it has been written in the book of the prophets. Did you bring slaughtered beasts and offerings to me during 40 years in the wilderness, O house of Yisrael? And you took up the tent of Molech, and the star of your mighty one, Kayun, images which you made to bow before them. Therefore I shall remove you beyond Babel. The tent of witness was with our fathers in the wilderness, as he appointed, instructing Moshe to make it according to the pattern that he had, which our fathers, having received it in turn, also brought with Yahusha, aka Joshua, into the land possessed by the nations, whom Elohim drove out before the face of our fathers until the Yomim of Daud, who found favor before Elohim and asked to find a dwelling for the Elohim of Yaakov, but Shalomo built him a house. However, the Most High does not dwell in dwellings made with hands, as the prophet says, "The heaven is my throne, and Eretz is my footstool." What house shall you build for me, says Yahuah, or what is the place of my rest? Has my hand not made all these? You stiff-necked and uncircumcised in heart and ears, you always resist the Kodesh Ruach, as your fathers did, you also do. Which of the prophets did your fathers not persecute? And they killed those who before announced the coming of the righteous one, of whom you now have become the betrayers and murderers, who received the Torah as it was established by messengers, but did not watch over it. And hearing this, they were cut to the hearts and gnashed the teeth at him. But he, being filled with the Ruach HaKodesh, looked steadily into the heaven and saw the esteem of Elohim and Yahusha standing at the right hand of Elohim. And he said, Look, I see the Shamayim opened, and the son of Adam standing at the right hand of Yahuah. And screaming with a loud voice, they plugged their ears and rushed upon him with one mind, and threw him out of the city and stoned him. And the witnesses laid down their garments at the feet of a young man named Shaul, and they were stoning Stephanos as he was calling and saying, Master Yahusha, receive my ruach. And kneeling down, he yelled with a loud voice, Master, do not hold this sin against them. And having said this, he fell asleep.
All righty. Well, there's a lot in that. Stephen there, Stephanus, he really gave us a real good outline of scripture there, didn't he? One good thing here at the very end was that he fell asleep. So this is confirmation that he's sleeping in his tomb, wherever they buried him, and he will be woke back up at given time by Yahusha, probably during the first resurrection, I would assume, with him. But wow, what a great outline of scripture here. Did you notice in verse 44 where it said the tent of witness was with our fathers in the wilderness, as he appointed, instructing Mojah to make it according to the pattern that he had seen, which our fathers had received it in turn also brought with Yahusha. So they were moving, they had to pack up everything and move it around and set it up precisely the way they were instructed and everything. So interesting, the pattern that he had seen. What did he see? Where did he see a pattern at? Well, up on Mount Sinai, he was shown the original in the Shemayim. There's a temple up there in which Yahusha, when he ascended, went in and sprinkled the mercy seat with his blood. And so it is there. It is the original. Everything that Moshe made was a carbon copy of the original, but he was told to make it precisely and exactly as he saw it by Yahuah. So that's a very interesting thing here. Open up some minds to what's going on with the patterns, the carbon copy patterns that we have on the earth compared to what's the original that's in the Shemayim. I think somebody else is trying to come on here. Mark keeps dropping. Here you go, brother. I'll keep an eye on you. Okay. Before we get into 8 here, if anybody has a question in the chat room, just go ahead and just put your caps on and cap the whole thing so we know you're asking a question. Or if you want to speak, you're not going to be able to do it on the chat room. But if anybody in the broadcast sees somebody in the chat room asking a question or making a comment or something that they want to all of us to know, just point it out, and then we'll read it or whatever. Okay, kind of help me keep an eye on the chat room for questions and stuff, if you don't mind. Where's Mark White? He gone again. Here he is. Having problems with your phone, brother? All right. I saw you on last. Yeah, I saw you on last night. Maybe just some internet or something. So anybody at this point, listen, if you have a question or you want to interject as we're reading, you can unmute your mic and say, I have a question or something like that, or I got a comment. Okay, that's fine to interrupt. We don't want to quench the Ruach HaKodesh for sure.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Because I've had nothing but trouble trying to get on here. Every time I hit chat or anything else, it boots me off again. So I don't even, what book and chapters are we in right now?
I'm sorry, we're in Acts. We're continuing with our Acts study from last week, and he just got done reading chapter 7.
Oh, perfect.
And so we'll begin reading chapter 8 now.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry.
We just read chapter 7, right? Gibson girl. So we're on chapter 8 now.
Okay.
All right, Yami, you want to read?
Okay, here I am.
We're starting on chapter 8. I may start interrupting a little bit more now that we're settling down here. It looks like Lou couldn't get into the live stream, but maybe he'll work on it. Sometimes he has that problem. He ends up on. Dave, I know you. Also, seems like people on phones are having a little problem today. Nope. I think everybody's here. Actually, like I said, the counter doesn't really register for everybody. They have to be in the chat room to get registered on our counter. So there could very well be more people watching that we don't know is watching. Okay, I know this is weird. Next week we'll be back on natstreamlife.com. For those who were late, Margaret took the day off for family stuff, and she'll be back next week, and I won't be. But Lou White, we'll do the Zoom at noon, but Lou White's gonna take it and be the teacher on next week. I'm gonna go on vacation myself. So, but I'll be back for the week after, and we'll continue in Acts. I think Lou's gonna talk about something else. Go ahead, Toria.
I was just going to tell you, I was actually on the YouTube and it said that 28 at that time were watching. So just let you know that it is live on YouTube also.
Yeah. Yeah. And we probably have more watching that's not in the chat room because they don't know how, they didn't register on Microsoft. You know what I'm saying? Or they didn't know quite how to get on.
Well, I clicked on what you put in the chat. I clicked on that.
Yeah.
And that's how I got on.
And you've been in YouTube before, though, watching YouTube channels?
I watch YouTube channels, but I've never been on them live.
Okay, so you're signed up. See, so if you can't comment or do anything unless you're signed up through Microsoft, okay. I think it is, or whatever it is. So someone do that. So they're watching, but we don't know they're watching. But I think most everybody's here. We have some guests as well. Okay. Go ahead, Tad. You got a question? Tad?
I just had a technical question because you had mentioned you wanted us to watch for questions in the chat.
Yes.
Since we're just in StreamYard, can we actually see the questions in the chat? Because I'm not seeing anything for chat room here.
Is there a box here that says private and then public? See that? There should be a box that says private, public, or something on there. Where you
see private chat comments, yeah.
Go public, and I think you can see them. It's been a while since I've been in like that, so I think I can.
Okay, I see it.
Yeah, you got to private and public. Click on public, you guys, and then you can see the chat room. And you can type in the chat room, although you're in the broadcast. Everybody seeing that?
No.
If you do private, and you're just talking to the people that are in the broadcast, so you could secretly talk to Rebecca if you're on private. If you hit public, you go right into the chat room and see everybody in the chat room. Okay.
Okay.
Everybody?
Yeah, I got it.
All right. Okay, let's continue on. Hi, Kobe. Glad you're here, brother. I was wondering if you're going to make it. Kobe, you can come into the broadcast if you choose to. I mean, we'd like to have you in here. Let's go ahead and do chapter 8. Tad's going to read it for us.
Okay.
Okay, Phyllis. I'll watch for him. Okay, Yami, let's do it. Chapter 8. Anybody else have a question before we go? Nobody? Okay, let's go, Yami.
Okay, and Shaul was giving approval to his death. And on that yom, there was a great persecution
Okay, Phyllis. Watch for him.
against the assembly which was at Jerusalem, and they were all scattered throughout the territories of Yehudah and Shomron, except the emissaries. And dedicated men buried Stephanus and made great lamentation over him. But Shaul was ravaging the assembly, entering every house and dragging off men and women, putting them in prison. Then those who had been scattered went everywhere bringing the Besorah, the word. And going down to the city of Shomeron, Philip proclaimed Mashiach to them.
Okay, hang on, Matt. Okay, so this is interesting. Here we have Shaul of Tarsus going around ravaging the assembly, breaking into their houses, beating them up, dragging them out, putting them in prison. And yet the people scattered from, because they obviously didn't want to be captured. But here they fear Yahuah more than they fear men, right? And so they're still going everywhere and being scattered, bringing the Besorah, the word.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so very interesting that these people fear Yahuah more than men, and we all should do that too.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Correct.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, let's continue on.
Verse 5, and going down to the city of Shomeron, Philip proclaimed Mashiach to them. And the crowds with one mind heeded what Philip said, hearing and seeing the miracles which he did. For unclean ruachs came out of many who were possessed, screaming with a loud voice, and many who were paralyzed and lame were healed. And there came to be great joy in that city. Now there was a certain man called Shimon, who formerly was practicing magic in the city and astonishing the people of Shomeron, claiming to be someone great.
Okay, hang on, Matt. Okay, so this guy here is obviously a magician of sorts, or a wizard, if you will, or a sorcerer or witch or something, right? And so he's doing these great signs and wonders that's blowing people's mind. If you ever been to a good magician show,
Yeah.
like David Copperfield or something, they blow you away, man. It's like, it just looks like they're really doing it. And so this is enchantment. This is trickery, magic and trickery. It's not real. It's a delusion. Okay. And so we find that these false prophets and these false teachers and things in the end of the latter days are going to be doing this kind of stuff. They're not real. They can't create. They can't bring things to give life. You know, they can only trick you and pretend like they're doing these things, which they really are not. They're just magicians. So don't disenchantments that's going to increase at the end of the later days is not real. You got to remember that they're just tricking us. Okay, it's going to be coming. It's going to be coming up quite a bit because Yahushua said so. You want 24 of that. Go ahead, Bruce.
Shabath Shalom to all. Also, I even as a Nazi, I still look at things that Christians do or did preach up to their dying day, and some of the that Yahushua wants me to remember because I do and then also sometimes just to pray for the people. And there's been videos exposing frame by frame or still frame or whatever these charlatans, the televangelists who claim mighty works. They correctly quote scripture, they word for word, but then they also put on this show at the same time. So it's basically they're an example of sheep among wolves, and they're also ravenous wolves too, not sparing the flock. You know, unfortunately, I would say they're there. Sometimes even though, because there's not very many Nazarene in the world, so if you do some research on them, you know, especially in religion and how religion is so packed, and like every religion is packed full with false prophets, you know, and pretenders. That's a good place to start. You know?
Yeah, there's going to be false prophets and false teachers doing magical tricks, pretending like they know what they're talking about, but really they do not, and they're only doing it for personal gain. Yahushua warns us about that in a lot of different places. So yeah, beware of the false teachers that are pretending like they're a lamb or a student of Yahushua, but really they have a devious alternate agenda. And so they may have groups of people in on it and sharing the booty. Okay, so say, okay, when I say this, you guys fall to the ground like you're dead or something, you know, and whatever. I mean, people can scheme all day long and pretend, but there's one person that they cannot fool, and that person is Yahuah. They can't fool Yahuah. Yahuah knows. Okay, all right, let's continue on. Yami, please.
Okay. Okay, verse 10. To whom they all were giving heed, from the least to the greatest, saying, this one is the power of Elohim, which is great. And they were giving heed to him because for a long time he had amazed them with his magic. And when they believed Philip as he brought the Besorah about the reign of Elohim and the name of Yahushua Mashiach, both men and women were immersed.
Okay.
The Torah and the name are the core of the message, the Besorah, the word, and name.
Okay, so we guard, as Nazarene, we guard the word and the name. That's what we do. Okay, and what's the word? Anybody?
The Torah.
Yeah, the Torah. Or 10 love commands, right?
The commandments?
Yeah.
Or the commandments.
Yeah.
Right. And the word was made flesh, Yahushua, and he dwelt among us, and we beheld his esteem. Esteem is the only begotten of the Father, full of favor and truth.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so notice both men and women were immersed here. So when we go back up here and it says that in 11 that this magician had were given heed to him because for a long time he had amazed them with his magic for a long time. So this guy's been running around doing tricks and making everybody follow him around because he seemed to have some kind of power. But was this power real? No. The power's not real. It's fake. It's falsehood. It's deceivement. The demons, the false prophets, the false teachers, the devil, all do that. It's all enchantment. They were stymied. And we read Exodus when Moshe went into the Pharaoh and he was changing water to blood and bringing frogs out and all this. They were keeping right up with him with their enchantments, their magical tricks, right? But when it came to when he created life and gnats from the sand or lice, whatever it was, all of a sudden those magicians stopped and told Pharaoh, this isn't a joke anymore, and I'm paraphrasing. This isn't a joke anymore. Yeah, we've been keeping up with what he's doing, but hey, we can't create life. This has to be the finger of Yahuwah doing this. This is real stuff. This isn't tricks anymore. We're out of here, right?
Excellent. So
we got to be very careful, especially into the end of the latter days, about these magicians, these tricksters, these fraudsters. They could be demon possessed. Who knows? Stay away from them. They're trying to trick you. It's a lie that they're presenting to you. Is it not? Is it not falsehood? Mm-hmm. Stay away from it. False and lies. bad news.
Mm-hmm.
You should not be going to magic shows at all.
No.
Okay? All right. Yami, let's go, please.
And Shimon himself also believed. And when he was immersed, he continued with Philip and was amazed, seeing the miracles and signs which took place. And when the emissaries who were at Jerusalem heard that Shomerom had received the word of Elohim, they sent Kepha and Yehukanan to them, who, when they had come down, prayed for them to receive the set-apart Ruach.
Okay, stop. All right, so here now, when this is back here, when it says that both men and women were immersed, it's not really telling us if they were water immersed or immersed with the Ruach HaKodesh. So we really don't know at that point. And then it goes down here and says, Simon himself also believed, the magician, and when he was immersed. So when immersed with what? The Ruach or water? We really don't know. See, so when you're reading the book of Acts, which should be the works of the Ruach HaKodesh, right? So we have the main theme is the immersion of the Ruach. But when it says immerse, we don't know which one it is until we read further in context, and then it will be revealed. So as we continue to read, we find out that the emissaries who were at Jerusalem heard that Samaria, that area in there, which was not a good place as far as the Yehudim went, the Pharisees and stuff for sure, had received the word of Elohim, had come into that area. And so then they sent Kepha and Yehukanan to them, who, when they came down, prayed for them to receive the set-apart Ruach. So now we know they have not been immersed in the Ruach HaKodesh yet, so all this prior stuff is speaking of water immersion in the name of Yahusha. See, so now we know. See, there's two immersions, and we have to understand which one it's talking about, because it's going to get to a point as we read on, it's going to be very difficult to figure out which immersion they're speaking of, and we're going to have to read between the lines, sort of speak, or receive knowledge from our teacher, Yahusha, our Rabbi Yahusha, in order to understand. But we can understand. It's there for us to understand. We just need to open up our eyes and ears and listen to our master teach us. Who's teaching us today?
Yahusha.
Yahusha. When we read pure truth, when we read out of scripture, it is then that Yahusha is teaching us. We merely only need to open up our ears and listen to him.
It also says that
it's not Tad teaching, it's not Mark Wyatt teaching, it's not Mark August teaching. This is Yahusha teaching us right now, because we're reading out of his pure truth. That's why it's very important to get scripture like the BYNV that has been restored to the point where we can get the true message, the true teaching from Yahusha. When we read English translations or Latin translations or Greek translations or whatever, we don't quite get the full message. There's too much delusion in there mixed in, too much falsehood mixed in to the translation for us to receive full truth or pure truth. Okay, so I highly recommend at this point, if I may, that if you do not have the BYNV, you should get it. It's the best Hebrew to English translation I know of. I've read them all. You can see them on my shelf. I'm not lying. I have them here, and I have read them all. Okay, so there's the one you want.
Everybody's
of course, it says of the Ruach that the Ruach will guide us into all truth. So we have to depend on the Ruach the Ruach will give us only what he wants us to know in that moment, to give honor and praise and esteem to Yahuah and Yahusha.
Yes, sir.
And I think it's scriptural too, not to try to figure out things that are beyond our understanding, that are too deep for us. So we have to, the Ruach isn't convicting us of the truth about something. It means that he doesn't want us to know at that moment. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. And he does start out teaching us the literal. Somebody needs to mute their mic. He starts off teaching us the literal, and then he gets us into the spiritual matters, and there's no end to the depth of the spiritual matters. The literal is for all to understand and receive. But beyond that, when we and he starts feeding us the spiritual matters, it's endless. His knowledge is endless. Yahuah teaches us. And then Yahusha's Ruach, the Ruach HaKodesh, keeps us on the right path and reminds us of what we've been taught so that we don't forget. Somebody needs to mute. I think it's Maria. I'll get you. I'll get you. There you go. All right, let's continue on. Don't want to get too far off on the tangent. Go ahead. All right, Yami, go ahead.
Okay, verse 16. For he had not yet fallen on any of them, but they had only been immersed in the name of the Master Yahusha.
Okay, stop. See, right there is plain as day, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Plain as day. They were immersed in the name of Yahusha. None of them have been immersed with the Ruach HaKodesh as of yet. Okay, let's go ahead, Yami.
Then they laid hands on them, and they received the Ruach HaKodesh. And Simon, seeing that through the laying on of the hands of the emissaries, the Ruach HaKodesh was given, he offered them money, saying, give me this authority too, so that anyone I lay hands on shall receive the Ruach HaKodesh.
Okay, well, obviously we're going to stop right here, right? Okay, this is amazing. So first of all, they laid hands on them and they received the Ruach. Is that something that's required for someone to receive the Ruach? Do they have to have somebody lay hands on them?
No.
They do not. So this was kind of like a revival type deal, but it was an initiative revival, if you will. So they were there and they went up there, said, oh, they've accepted the word. Let's get up there and make sure everything's going according to Yahusha's will. And that's what they did. And then they were going around laying hands and asking for the promise of the Ruach to come upon these people. And he did. He did come upon them. And but this is something that doesn't have to be done. Okay, the Ruach can do whatever he wants. People are immersed in the Ruach HaKodesh even before their water immersion. So they don't have to be immersed in water in the name of Yahusha first. They can receive the Ruach first. These type of people generally have pure hearts. It's what Yahuah is searching for, is people with pure hearts. And so when he finds them, he doesn't hesitate to indwell them. And so that can happen. We're going to find out as we read. We're going to see all these different scenarios, what's going on. And we'll see there's no pattern or process involved here. It's whatever the Ruach HaKodesh wants to do, whatever his will is. Okay, so they received received the Ruach, and then Simon, this magician, right, that's supposed to have converted, he was definitely water immersed in the name of Yahusha, is still not getting it. Why? Because he hasn't studied anything. He's just been listening to Philip and reacting the same as everybody else has been acting. This is new to them at this point. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Simon, who had been water immersed in the name of Yahusha, saw that when Peter and Yahuchanan and Philip were laying hands on these people, they were receiving the Ruach, and he offered money. He wanted to pay them to give them the power to lay hands on people, and they received the Ruach. So his magician mindset, his mind of the flesh, hasn't been in, it hasn't gone from him. He's still thinking in the mind of the flesh and monetary reasons. He wants money to give you the Ruach, right? Does that remind you of anybody?
Catholics.
Okay, so this guy called, is this where simony came from? You know the simony, the greed. This is where this term came from, was this guy. And so he offered him money, give me this authority. And it wasn't even an authority, really. It was just the Ruach HaKodesh working through his emissaries. It wasn't them doing it. It's never men doing it. It wasn't Paul, Yahuah, or Philip doing this. It was the Ruach HaKodesh working through them. They were tools in the hand of the master, and he was sending his Ruach into them. It wasn't the men at all. But this Simon dude didn't know that. He thought it was the Peter and Yahuah and Philip doing it, and he was willing to pay him money to teach him or give him that authority to be able to do that. And he had no idea it was coming from Yahuah. And anyone I lay hands on shall receive the Ruach. Okay, so let's continue on now and find out what this poor man is going to be subject to, because he's offering money to help people receive the Ruach.
Yahushua just put this on my mind about all these big names in religion that do all these massive things, because the pattern is that they are all talking about prosperity, how rich and powerful they are, and they live luxurious lives. I've even heard seen one example where one person with a disability, who has a YouTube channel, was stopped for when he wanted healing, and he had to sign a form to say as though he was in order to come up, and he was stopped. So this is an example, and yet these televangelists, if they kind of like very sleazy in the way that they set things up, that if they want to make money their own way, and if you don't agree with them, they're not going to get to you. But Yahushua is, as it says scripturally, when he healed the sick and the lame and cast out spirits, he healed all of them. There's an example for that, and it does not come with a price. It does not, at least not with money. All right.
Okay, that's exactly right, Bruce. Let's go ahead and go on, Emma.
Yeah.
Okay, but Kepha said to him, let your silver perish with you, because you thought to buy the gift of Elohim through money. You have neither part nor lot in this matter, for your heart is not right before Elohim. Repent, therefore, of this evil of yours, and plead with Elohim to forgive you the intention of your heart. For I see that you are poisoned by bitterness and bound by unrighteousness. But Simon answering said, plead with the master for me, so that none of what you had said shall come upon me.
Okay, hang on a minute. Okay, did this guy have a pure heart, this Simon? He had evil intentions in his heart, right?
Yeah.
And so he was immersed in the name of Yahushua with water, but never received the Ruach. And it almost sounds like Kepha's putting some kind of curse on him here. He's saying, let your silver perish with you. In other words, you're going to die without the Ruach, man. You're going to die with your silver. Let it fill up your tomb with silver if you want to, but you ain't going to die with the Ruach in you. So this is what I've been saying for a while now, is that we have to have the Ruach HaKodesh in us to enter the everlasting covenant. I think this pretty much is an example of that. Okay, so to be water immersed in the name of Yahushua is a great thing, but we need two immersions. If you get the immersion of the Ruach HaKodesh and you're not water immersed and you die, I think you're still in the everlasting covenant. But if you get immersed in the water in the name of Yahushua and you die and you don't have the Ruach, that's questionable to me. And this isn't just the only example of that either. Scripture's loaded. We have to have the Ruach HaKodesh. If you don't have it, start praying for it. Ask Yahuah to send you his Ruach. Got to have the Ruach HaKodesh. You got to. And to enter the everlasting covenant. You're not going to enter without it. Why? Because it's a marriage. You can't marry yourself. In order to enter this marriage covenant, you need a husband. So you have to have the Ruach HaKodesh and dwell in you. Then him and you become one, as a man and woman becomes one when they marry. And now you have a husband, you enter into the marriage blood covenant or the everlasting covenant with your husband. Otherwise, the wife ain't got a husband. How's she going to enter a marriage covenant with herself? She ain't. That's why we need the Ruach. All right. It's a cleansing process. We clean ourselves up by confessing, repenting, and being water immersed in the name of Yahushua, being washed with the blood of the Lamb. Our being, not our flesh. Our flesh is gone. It's sentenced to death already. It's been judged, tried, and condemned. It's just waiting for the penalty to kick in, which is death. But our being, that's a different story. It goes through the cleaning process, gets cleaned up, gets sealed by the Ruach HaKodesh for the day of redemption until he comes back to redeem us and bring us back the promise, our gift of our immortal body. All right. That's why we have to. If you don't have the Ruach, you're not going to be sealed for the day of redemption either. There's all different reasons we have to have this Ruach. Okay, let's go. And we can't buy it, obviously. So save your money, keep your money in your pocket, and get on your knees, on your face, and ask the only person in the entire existence of the universe that can immerse you in the Ruach HaKodesh. Does anybody know who that is?
Yahushua.
Yahushua. He's the only one can immerse you in the Ruach. Nobody else can. No man. So if that's true, then when Peter and Yahuah and Philip laid their hands on these people and they received the Ruach, was it them giving them the Ruach?
No.
No, it was Yahushua, the indwelling spirit of Yahushua, the Ruach HaKodesh. The Ruach HaKodesh comes in the name of Yahushua. So the name of the Ruach HaKodesh is Yahushua. Yahushua came in his father's name. So they all have the same name because they're all the same being. Yahuah is one. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Let's go. Please continue.
Okay, I'll go to verse 23. For I see that you are poisoned by bitterness and bound by unrighteousness. But Simon answering said, plead with the master for me, so that none of what you have said shall come upon me. Then after they had earnestly witnessed and spoken the word of Yahuah, they returned to Jerusalem, bringing the Besorah in many villages of the Shomeronites. But a messenger of Yahuah spoke to Philip, saying, arise and go toward the south along the way which goes down from Jerusalem to Azah. This is desert. And he arose and went, and saw a man of Cush, a eunuch of great authority under Candace, the empress of the Cushites, who was in charge of all her treasury, and had come to Jerusalem to worship, and was returning. And sitting in his chariot, he was reading the prophet Yahuah, chapter 53. And the Ruach said to Philip, go near and join him in that chariot. And running up, Philip heard him reading the prophet Yahuah and said, do you know what you're reading? And he said, How am I able unless one guides me? And he called Philip near to come up and sit with him. And the passage of the scripture which he was reading was this: He was led as a sheep to slaughter, and like a lamb silent before its shearer, so he opened not his mouth. In his humiliation, he was deprived of right ruling. And who shall declare his generation? Because his life was taken from the Aretz. And the eunuch answering Philip said, I ask you, about whom does the prophet say this? About himself or about some other? And Philip, opening his mouth and beginning at this scripture, brought to him the Besorah, Yahushua. And as they were going on the way, they came to some water. And the eunuch said, Look, water. What hinders me from being immersed? And Philip said, If you believe with all your heart, it is permitted. And he replied, I believe that Yahushua Mashiach is the son of Elohim. And
Okay, hang on a minute right there. This is interesting right here now. Philip is giving him some kind of a restriction on being water immersed. What's the restriction?
Total belief.
You believe with all your heart?
yeah, believe, yeah.
Believe with all your heart. So there's folks out there that have been water immersed and they say, well, I don't feel nothing, or I don't feel any different, or whatever. They haven't received the Ruach or whatnot. And, it's the scripture tells us to examine ourselves to see in the belief, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe if they just half-heartedly doing this, going down and going down in their bathtub or whatever, but they really don't believe, they're just doing it because they think that this act of obedience will get them delivered somehow or brought into the everlasting covenant, which they probably don't even understand that. It's not doing much for them, because you have to believe with all your heart, and then it is permitted. Okay, so without belief, can we find favor with Yahuah? We don't have any belief. What scriptures say about belief?
Well, we have a passage in Hebrews, is it Hebrews 4:15? It says, without belief, it's impossible to please Elohim. For the one who comes in must believe that he is, and that he's a rewarder of those who diligently seek him.
Thank you. There it is. Without belief, it's impossible. Impossible. Okay? We all catching that? So sometimes when people have said, well, I've been water immersed and I confess, I repent, I did they really do it with a pure heart, with a remorseful heart? Were they sorrowful for breaking Yahuwah's commands and begging his forgiveness? Or were they just doing it like the Simon was? See, I'll go jump in the water in the name of Yahushua. Maybe I'll get it. I'll get salvation that way. Right? So they're not trying to buy it with money, but what are they doing? They're trying to buy it with unbelief.
Mm-hmm. Their own way.
Their own
man-made righteousness.
Yes, sir. Everybody on the same page with that now?
Yep.
All right. Let's continue.
One thing came to mind. This doesn't have to do with the baptism or anything like that yet, but when it says, this is just for future, if anybody debates about lineage, which I've heard many times before about Yahushua, saying that he was deprived of right ruling, and who shall declare his generation, because his life was taken from the Eretz. So there's a thing on that, is that he died with no children. So anybody tries to argue about that, there's the scripture for it, but I think also with this whole thing about, like, there's about baptism. That was speaking of that. Yeah, I mean, you got to do it with a pure heart, though. I mean, because Yahushua will point it out if you're not doing it purely.
Definitely with a remorseful heart, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you break down and you hit the ground and you're crying and you're pain, you have pain inside of your entire being because you realize what you've been doing to Yahuah and to his creation. You know, you have that much remorse in your heart. You know, Yahuah sees that. He knows that. Okay, so he's willing to forgive you because you have the knowledge of your sin. You're admitting that you were wrong, and Yahuah will reward that. That's all he really wants, for us to confess that we were wrong and repent and turn back to him and start obeying him. You know, and then he'll clean us up, make us a virgin bride, because he wants a virgin bride. He doesn't want a dirty bride. He wants one without spot, wrinkle, and blemishes, right? So this cleaning process is back through his blood, our virgin status. And then he comes in with his ruach and protects us from ever getting dirty again by what? Sin penetrating the flesh into our being and contaminating our being again. Yes, our being was also dirty. Our flesh can't be clean, but our being can. And once he cleans it, he protects it so it can't be dirty anymore. That's why he said, no, don't fear men. It can only kill your body. It's already been condemned anyway. It's full of sin anyway. It can't be cleaned up. Of course, I'm paraphrasing. But fear Yahuah, who can kill both body and your being in Gehenna. Yeah. All right, let's continue on, please.
I believe that Yahushua Mashiach is the son of Elohim, and he commanded the chariot to stand still, and both Philip and the Enoch went down into the water, and he immersed him. And when they came up out of the water, the Ruach of Yahuah chased Philip away, and the Enoch saw him no more, for he went his way rejoicing. Philip, however, was found at Ashdod, and passing through, he brought the Besorah to all the cities until he came to Caesarea.
Okay, I really, really like this verse. What is this verse teaching us? That there's another form of transportation perhaps we're not familiar with. It's called translation. So Philip was translated from one place to another place. He wasn't transported by a vehicle or a camel or a mule. He was translated by Yahuah from one place to another. Bound. So is this form of transportation available to us today?
No.
I believe so, because it says that he does not change.
Anybody else a thought on that? Can we be translated from here to somewhere else by Yahuah, if he wills it?
Yeah.
Well, who translated Philip?
Yahushua.
So can we still be translated today?
Yes.
Yeah, we can. We absolutely can. That form of transportation is still available.
I mean, you said it yourself last week, though, Mark. I mean, this whole thing, this is not an end. This chapter hasn't even, this book hasn't even ended, because it goes to all generations. You know.
Yeah, there's the book doesn't have an amen after it, which is an indication to me that it is an end. Why? Because this is the working of the Ruach HaKodesh. This isn't the Acts of the Apostles. Okay, apostles can't do nothing on their own. Without Yahushua, they can do nothing. This isn't about them at all. They're just normal men and women like us. They have no power. They can do nothing without the Ruach HaKodesh in them. All we need to do is believe in the power of the Ruach in us, and we can do everything that these folks were doing in the first age, whatever, century.
First century.
Okay. It's our belief that's stymieing us, not Yahuah. Yahuah's the same today as he was yesterday and tomorrow. He can do whatever. It's us that's doing it. So we need to only believe. That's it. That's our job, is believe in the power of the blood of Yahusha, believe in the power of Yahuah to work through us and do his will. That's it. All we need to do is believe. Remember the old guy with the son, the demon-possessed son? I believe, Master, but help me with my unbelief. That's what we should all be saying. We should be praying that same prayer.
So basically,
my unbelief.
So basically, wherever there's a root of unbelief or bitterness, can actually prevent certain things, certain miracles, and Yahusha's will being done. So that's an interesting reminder, because
when he went to his hometown, Bruce.
Huh?
When Yahusha visited his hometown, how many miracles did he do?
Not many, because of their unbelief.
Could
he laid his hand on a few people.
Wanted to?
Huh?
Could he have done miracles if he wanted to? Yahusha, when he visited his hometown.
Yes.
Yes.
In obedience to Yahuah, but he also knew that he only could lay his hands on a few people and do a few miracles, but not many, because of the unbelief and
people, and he taught. But could he have, if he wanted to, despised their unbelief? Absolutely, he could have. Nothing's restricting his power. So why couldn't he do it? Because of their unbelief. It's not that he couldn't, but he didn't want to. Why? Because they had unbelief. So it's a requirement, is it not? If you want him to work through you, his spiritual gifts, then you need to believe in his power in you, that he can do that through you. If you do not, he's not going to do it, because it's a requirement. You're only restricted by your unbelief. If you say, I believe in Yahuah, I believe in you, Master, but help me with my unbelief. What are you saying? I believe in you, but I'm weak. I don't know if I can go touch this person and get them healed. I just don't know if I can do it. Well, we need to stop with I can't do it thing, because obviously you cannot do it. It's Yahusha doing it. So maybe we should be saying, Yahusha, use me to heal this person. I totally yield to your will and your power. I believe you can do it, Yahusha. Use me. Send me, Yahusha. Send me. Maybe we should start praying like that. Let's continue on, please.
That was the end of chapter 8.
I was on a roll. I forgot where we were at. Okay, now we're getting ready to get in. This is the last chapter we're going to do here today, but this is the most important one. So everybody tune into this chapter 9. It's power packed, and then we'll open it up for questions, comments, whatever we can do. If anybody in the chat room has questions, do all caps or red lines so we can see that you have a question. Other than that, it's kind of hard to see it. All right. Lou White, can you read chapter 9 for us, sir? If you don't mind.
Okay, I have to unmute. All right, let's see, chapter 9. Let's see.
Chapter 9.
Here we go. But Shaul.
We need to mute their mics to get feedback.
Okay.
Mute your mic. even do mine.
Okay. What's happening?
Yeah, hearing a lot of feedback or like air or something from you. You got a fan running or something?
Oh, you mean a fan here?
Yeah. It sounds like a hum or something. Oh, shh.
Yeah. It might be the air vent.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can hear you all right.
Oh, can you? Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
All right, Acts chapter 9. But Shaul, still breathing threats and murder against the Talmudim and the master, having come to the high priest, asked him letters to the congregations of Damascus, so that if he found any who were of the way, whether men or women, to bring them bound to Jerusalem. And it came to be that as he journeyed, he came near Damascus, and suddenly a light flashed around him from the heaven. And he fell to the ground and heard a voice saying to him, Shaul, Shaul, why do you persecute me? And he said, Who are you, master? And the master said, I am Yahushua, whom you persecute. It's hard for you to kick against the goads.
Hold on, Luke. Does everybody know what goids are? Everybody know what goids are? It was a part of the harness they put on ox when they were plowing. And if the ox got off of line, the left or the right, these goids would stick them and make them get back over where they were supposed to be. They're like these pointy instruments on the harness of an ox. So if you kick that, it wouldn't feel very good. All right, Lou.
Okay. Both trembling and being astonished, he said, Master, what do you wish me to do? And the master said to him, Arise and go into the city, and you shall be told what you have to do. And the men journeying with him stood speechless, hearing indeed the voice, but seeing no one. And Shaul rose from the ground, but when his eyes were opened, he saw no one. And leading him by the hand, they brought him into Damascus.
Okay, hold on. All right, this is where I'm gonna mute you just for a second, Luke. I'm getting some kind of weird feedback. Okay. All right, this is where I want to spend a little bit of time on here. And this is what this is the original event that where Paul saw a light flashing around him, fell to the ground, asking who he was speaking to, and he finds out that it's Yahushua. He's speaking with the Ruach HaKodesh, and then he leaves him, and now he's blinded. Okay, so here's the actual event. And remember, it is not Paul who is writing this, but Luke. So this is a second-hand witness. Okay, so let's remember that. Okay, now keep this in mind and turn to Acts 22. Acts 22, verse 9. Acts 22, verse 9. And those who were with me indeed saw the light and were afraid, but they did not hear his voice speaking to me. And I said, What shall I do, master? And the master said to me, Rise up, go into Damascus, and there you should be told all that you have been appointed to do. Okay, so here, back over here, it says that then the men journeying with him stood speechless, hearing indeed the voice, but seeing no one. And this is saying, and those who were with me indeed saw the light and were afraid, but they did not hear his voice. It's opposite, isn't it? Why? Is that a contradiction? No. This what we're going to read through this as we continue on here is it's an older version of that would happen. And so sometimes when time goes on, don't we forget a little bit of details? And sometimes don't we say things that really didn't happen? And later on, I say, why did I say that? That's not how that went, right? This is showing humanity, is what this is. So if we look at Acts 26, and this is going to get even better as we actually read the whole story. There's 3 accounts of this story found in Acts, and that's the second one. The third one is Acts 26. So go to Acts 26. And it says 13 and 14. It says, at midday along the highway, this is Paul's third account of this. Keep in mind now, this third account is almost at the end of Acts, right? Chapter 26. So the whole book of Acts covers a 35-year period. So this is probably right around 30, 32 years later after chapter 9. Been a while. So here's Paul telling the story again. While thus, 13, I'm sorry. At midday along the highway, sovereign, I saw a light from heaven, brighter than the sun, shining around me and those who journeyed with me. And when we had all fallen to the ground, now he's saying they all fell to the ground, I heard a voice speaking to me and saying in the Hebrew language, Shaul, why do you persecute me? It's hard to do. Look at what he's leaving out. He ain't even talking about that they saw or heard anything. He's just saying they saw the light and fell to the ground now. See, so why is he leaving these details out? Because it's been almost 30 years. Probably was 30 years for that point. Is it important? No. He's just telling them, hey, 32 years ago, this happened to me, but he's forgotten the smaller details. So I'm saying, so as time goes on, it seems as the story is changing, but really it's his memory fading. But there's a lot more to this story. And this is what I pointed this out right now because I want all of us to concentrate on the full story every time we hit this account. Okay. And we're going to get a real good example of what really happened, because not only does he forget some things, he reveals some things that he didn't say in the original chapter 9. Okay, so remember that, those 3, and even read them yourself if you want to. Get familiar with them. This is probably the most important thing in the book of Acts that we're going to read, really. Acts 22, 9, and Acts 26, 13 and 14. And then, of course, Acts 9 here at 7. So read the entire story in each one of those chapters and really study on it. You're good. You get a lot out of it. Go word by word. Okay, Lou. Yeah, see, where's Lou? Okay, Lou.
Okay. Let's see, are we muted? Yeah, we're okay. Acts chapter 9, verse 9. And he was 3 yomim without sight, and did not eat or drink.
Okay, now, hang on, Lou. This right there is extremely important. For 3 days he did not see, and he did not eat, he did not drink. No eating or drinking. Why? Because he's blind. He's blown away. I'm blind. I can't see. You would be that way too. Okay, so he's at this point very weak. He's become weak. He hasn't ate or drank for 3 days. Okay, Lou.
And there was at Damascus a certain Talmud by name Conaniah.
Okay, hang on, Lou. There's that name again. That I was telling you about, Rule. There's that name again. Okay, see that? All right.
Mm-hmm. And the master said to him in a vision, Conaniah, and he said, Here I am, master. And the master said to him, Arise and go to the street called Straight, and seek in the house of Yehudah for one called Shaul of Tarsos. For look, he is praying, and has seen in a vision a man named Conaniah coming in and laying his hand on him so as to see again. And Conaniah answered, Master, I have heard from many about this man, how many evils he did to your set apart ones in Jerusalem. And here he has authority from the chief priests to bind all those calling on your name. But the master said to him, Go, for he is a chosen vessel of mine to bear my name before nations, sovereigns, and the children of Yisrael. For I shall show him how much he has to suffer for my name.
Okay, hold on, Lou. Okay, at this point, what is this telling us about the name? What are we learning about the name at this point?
It was a source of persecution.
Yeah, exactly. The name Yahusha is being identified, is identifying what? His followers. Right? So anybody caught using that name would be prosecuted. So it's identifying, as far as the Pharisees goes, criminals. If you use your name, you're a criminal. You use his name. So it's an identifier now of his followers. So they're listening for anybody who uses that name. All right? Which is, by the way, a penalty of death. Not only is Yahuah's name penalized by death, but now all of a sudden, Yahusha's name has a penalty of death attached to it. Before he did, all right? You could say Yahush, but now all of a sudden you can't. Identify followers. Why? Because they realized that he came in his father's name. That's why. All right.
One thing that I would love that this is for all brothers and sisters in the faith. As an example here, that anybody, as long as we don't blaspheme the Spirit, can be saved, because it says also that I guess it was Yahushua saying, Go, for he is a chosen vessel of mine to bear my name before nations, sovereigns, and the children of Israel. So if you haven't blasphemed the Ruach HaKodesh, Yahusha can be sent to use pretty much anybody in this world, and Paul was definitely not was not a Jew. But anyway, so it can happen.
What he's doing here, he's trying to ease the mind of Hananiah. Okay, he said, yeah, he persecuted us, our people. He's done all these horrible things, but I've chosen him as a vessel. Is a chosen vessel of mine. What does that mean? What exactly does that mean? He's a chosen vessel of mine.
He's got a special mission.
Yeah, he's got a special mission, but what does the vessel part mean?
Vessel. Yeah, because we empty ourselves, and it's no longer I who live, but Mashiach lives in me, Galatians 5:20. So it's his mission to be a vessel of Yahusha.
Right, so he's the house of Ruach HaKodesh, isn't he? He's saying, I'm into that dude, and I'm going to dwell in him. He's my vessel. I'm choosing to live in him.
Yeah,
it's the body. We're also. It's written that we are that our bodies are the temple. So.
For he is for he is a chosen vessel of mine to bear my name among the nations, sovereigns and children of Israel. So yeah, he's going to have he's telling him, I'm going to dwell this guy, and I'm going to use him for my will and my whatever I want to do, with spreading the Besorah. Okay, so that eases the mind of Canaaniah because he was afraid. What? Paul? Saul? A tourist? Kidding me? He'll arrest me and persecute me, right? So Yahuah was calming him down and giving him reassurance. Oh, no, I'm going to indwell him. You won't be dealing with him. You're going to be dealing with me. Go do what I tell you to do now. Okay, Lou.
Okay, Acts chapter 9, picking up at verse 17. And Conaniah went away and went into the house, and laying his hands on him, he said, Brother Shaul, the master Yahushua, who appeared to you on the way as you came, has sent me, so that you might see again and be filled with the Ruach HaKodesh.
Okay, we have to pause right there. Okay, so after speaking with Yahushua here, he went and saw Paul, and he told him that Yahushua sent him so that you might see again. That's the first thing he's supposed to do. Why he went to see Paul, so he could see again. And the second thing, reason he sent Conaniah, was so that Paul could be filled with the Ruach HaKodesh. Everybody seeing that? That's the two reasons Conaniah was sent to Paul by Yahushua. So he could see again and be filled with the Ruach HaKodesh. That's it. That's the mission given to Conaniah. Right? Okay, Lou.
Okay, Acts chapter 9, picking up at verse 18. And immediately there fell from his eyes, as it were, scales, and he received his sight, and rising up, he was immersed.
Okay, stop. This is the verse right after the mission. So did he complete the mission? He absolutely did. So the mission he completed was the scales that fell from his eyes, he could see. He received his sight. That's the completion of mission number 1. So he can see again. And rising up, as soon as put yourself in the situation. Okay? As soon as he received his sight, he rised up. If it was me, I'd have jumped straight up, probably hit my head on the ceiling. He just received his sight. You better believe he rose up, got up out of that chair. I could see. And rising up, he was immersed. Water immersed? No. He was immersed with the Ruach HaKodesh because that's the mission. And that he be filled with the Ruach HaKodesh. And so rising up, he was immersed with the Ruach HaKodesh. That's what he went there to do. Okay, let's go.
Okay, Acts 9, verse 19. All right. And having received food, he was strengthened. And Shaul was with the Talmudim at Damascus some Yomim.
Okay, stop right there. Just finish the story. Having received food, why? How long did he not eat and drink? Before Conaniah got there? 3 days. He was so weak, ain't no way he was going to walk over somewhere and find water and get immersed. He didn't even know about it, probably knew about the immersion of Yahuah. But look, after he received the Ruach, next thing he did was sit back down and start eating. Because he's probably about ready to die. He didn't haven't ate, that wouldn't kill him, but not drinking for 3 days and not eating. Can you imagine how weak this man was? So obviously he wanted to eat. He's got his sight back. He's got the Ruach HaKodesh in him. Now he wants to eat because he hasn't eaten and drank for 3 days. And then he was strengthened after he ate. He received strength back from the food and the water, no doubt, that he was drinking. And so then he stuck around Damascus for some days afterwards. It's pretty much the end of the story here. There's been no mention of water immersion here. Did he get water immersed? He absolutely did. I believe he immersed himself, and we'll see that later on as we revisit this event in two other places in Scripture. Okay, Lou.
Okay, at verse 20, and immediately he proclaimed the Mashiach in the congregations that he is the Son of Elohim. And all who heard were amazed and said, is this not he who destroyed those calling on this name in Jerusalem, and has come here for this, to take them bound to the chief priests? But Shaul kept increasing in strength, and was confounding the Yahudim who dwelt in Damascus, proving that this is the Mashiach. And after many Yomim had elapsed, the Yahudim plotted to kill him. But their plot became known to Shaul, and they were watching the gates, Yom and Lila, to kill him. But taking him by Lila, the Talmudim let him down through the wall, lowering him in a basket. And having arrived at Jerusalem, Shaul tried to join the Talmudim, but they were all afraid of him, but not believing that he was a Talmudim. But Barnabas took him and brought him to the emissaries, and told them how he had seen the master on the way, and that he had spoken to him, and how he was speaking boldly at Damascus in the name of Yahusha.
Okay, hang on just a second. Why was Paul speaking boldly in Damascus in the name of Yahusha? How did he even know what to say? Anybody?
Wasn't he also raised in Talmud, raised in the Torah?
Yes, he was a Pharisee of Pharisees. He was well versed in the Torah. He knew the law. He was an attorney. But why would he boldly at Damascus talking about the name of Yahuwah?
He was doing that because he now was filled with the Ruach HaKodesh.
Thank you.
Complete understanding.
It was the Ruach HaKodesh speaking through him, wasn't it? It wasn't Paul at all. It was the Ruach. Remember, he said, he's going to be my vessel. Yeah. Ruach teaching, man, through Paul. It wasn't Paul. It's never a man. It's never the man. It's always the Ruach. If it's the man, there's something wrong happening. That's how you can tell it's a man. All right, Lou, chapter 28, Lou.
Brother, I wonder if somebody could else pick up on this, because I've got an appointment to see Dan.
Oh, okay.
I hate to leave, but I'll watch this in replay.
Okay, Lou. Thanks for reading, bro.
I love it. Thank you.
Mark White, you want to pick up where Lou left off, verse 28?
Sure. And he was with them at Jerusalem, coming in and going out, and speaking boldly in the name of the master Yahusha, and disputed with the Hellenists, but they undertook to kill him.
Hang on. Does everybody know what a Hellenist is? So we want to be clear here. Hellenist is a Greek believer.
Right. Wasn't it the tribes, some of the tribes that had become versed in the ways of Greece and the Hellenists?
Yeah, the Hellenists were mostly Hebrews living in dispersed around Greek in Greece. That's where the Hellenists, they're the Greek people, the believers. They could have been Greeks too that were converted, but most of them were probably the Hebrews in Dispersa,
right,
living in Greece. All right. Yeah.
And when the brothers learned of this, they brought him down to Caesarea and sent him out to Tarsus. Then indeed the assemblies throughout all Yehuda and Galilee and Shomron had peace and were built up, and walking in the fear of Yahuah and in the encouragement of the Ruach HaKodesh, they were being increased. And it came to be, as Kepha was passing through all places, that he also came down to the set-apart ones who were dwelling at Lod. And there he found a certain man named Irenaeus, who had been bedridden for 8 years, being paralytic. And Kepha said to him, Aeneas, Yahushua the Mashiach heals you. Rise up and make your bed. And immediately he rose up. And all those dwelling at Lod and Sharon saw him and did turn to the master. And in Yafu there was a certain Talmud named Tabitha, which means Dorcas. This Asha was filled with good works and kind deeds, which she did. And it came to be in those Yamim that she became sick and died, and having washed her, they laid her in an upper room. And Lod being near to Yafu, and the Talmudim having heard that Kepha was there, they sent 2 men to him, urging him not to delay in coming to them. And having risen up, Kepha went with them. And when he arrived, they brought him to the upper room. And all the widows stood beside him weeping, showing the inner garments and outer garments which Dorcas had made while she was with them. But Kepha sent them all out and knelt down and prayed. And turning to the body, he said, Tabitha, arise. And she opened her eyes, and seeing Kepha, she sat up. And giving her his hand, he lifted her up. And calling the set-apart ones and widows, he presented her alive. And it became known throughout all Yafu, and many believed on the master. And it came to be that he stayed for many Yamim in Yafu with Shimon, a leather tanner.
All right, we're going to stop today's study right there. This isn't the Simon, the wizard, okay? This is a leather tanner. It's a different Simon. And so here we find that the Ruach HaKodesh working through Peter and raising this woman from the dead. Not Peter, but the Ruach in him doing the works of the Father, okay? Mm-hmm. When he was in Yahusha, doing the works of the Father. And we all can do this too, if we have belief in what? Our ability to do it? Yeah. In the power of who is living in you, the creator of Shemayim in the earth, the seas, and all that is in them, in you. Surely we only have to accept his power and believe in his power to work through us. We become his vessels, just like that. Peter and Yehochanan and Philip. Just weren't them doing it. They're just like us. But what was the difference? They believed in the power of the Ruach HaKodesh in them to do those miracles, signs, and wonders. And they weren't enchantments and magic tricks. They were real, coming from Yahuah. He was really doing these things.
Right.
Okay. So that ends it. The study now is opened up for comments, questions, remarks, whatever, announcements, whatever you guys want to do. Just go for it. Anybody?
In Yahusha's sovereign reign, if it's any of me, it's not of Yahusha, because his esteem he will not share with another. So if it's me, it's not him. If it's him, it's not me. And that's, we've lost that because it's been so buried through Christianity, and we've lost so much understanding of that, and we're regaining it. We're coming back to the true understanding of the Kodesh HaRuach and the indwelling of that spirit in us. It is the right spirit. And we can't call on a foreign name. Whatever name you call on, that's who's going to come to you. So we need to be very clear on what name we call on.
Excellent point. If you call on somebody's name, they have every right to answer you, don't they?
That's right.
Watch on who name you're calling now. Go ahead, Gloria.
Okay, when we go back to chapter 8, 15, my comment is what stuck out for me is that they had come down, prayed for them to receive this set apart Ruach. I honestly never realized we could. I mean, I've prayed for my children's eyes to be open, my friends, my family, but I'd never thought that we could actually pray for that set apart Ruach to come upon our friends and relatives. And that was very interesting.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out. Yeah, prayer with belief is a very powerful thing. And as she pointed out here, they prayed for them to receive the set apart Ruach, and then they went on and laid hands on them, and then they received the Ruach. So here we see Yahuah answering prayer, and he does answer prayer.
And then when you go down to 20, it speaks that it's a gift.
Yeah, it is a gift. Our belief is a gift. You can't believe with
to know his name is a gift. To know the truth.
Yeah, that's right. It's all a gift from Yahuah, because without Yahusha, we can do nothing. So everything was just gifted to us. Once we develop, and I don't even know if I want to say that, but once we have enough belief through his gift of belief, then he can start to work his works through us, which is known as spiritual gifts. They're not man gifts; they're spiritual gifts. That means that they're his gifts. He's doing the works through us. So we don't really receive the gift to heal somebody per se, okay? But through our belief, the Ruach works his will. He uses us as a tool to speak out of, right? So our bodies have become his bodies, his temple. He lives in us. Our life is gone. We are surrendered to him, and he lives through us, pleading for others to repent and be immersed in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach and receive the gift of the Ruach HaKodesh. They're all gifts, correct. That's absolutely correct.
Sure.
Very good point, Toria. It's never man, ever. Always the Ruach. Anybody else want to add or expand on all this lesson today or ask questions?
I just would like to point out that in chapter 9, verse 42, it said after Kepha had the Ruach working through him after he had raised Tabitha, it says that it became known throughout all Yaffo, and many believed on the master, not on Kepha. They believed that it was the Ruach, not Simon Kepha.
Excellent point. Excellent point, Dad. So once we get our mindset right, and we give the esteem to Yahushua, all the esteem, and stop trying to give it to ourselves or saying we can't do this or we can't do that, and we believe and accept his power in us. I mean, look, who is living in us, man? Come on. Who's taking up residence in us? Our bodies have become his temple.
Mm-hmm.
We doubt that he can do these things. You know, this is a funny thing here that I came to realization to a while back, was that I lost my train of thought. I hate when I do that. Our body has become his temple, right? So if it's him that's indwelling us and sealing us, do we still live spiritually? We do not. We're dead. We've died to Mashiach, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're sealed by his Ruach, and our bodies have become his temple. So in reality, we have to surrender the mind of the flesh and our body totally.
Mm-hmm.
It's no longer effective. But yet we restrict the Ruach by saying, I can't, or putting restrictions on his power because we're thinking it's us doing it. That's why we have to clean that out in order for the Ruach to be able to fully work through us. Okay? And we got to get to that mindset. We have to, especially in these end time, the end of the latter days. it's going to become very important that we can do the things here that Yahushua can work through us like he was working through the first century followers, the Talmudim.
Right.
We're the last Talmudim, right? We're the last Nazarene.
Last Nazarene. You know, brother, I won't go into the whole story, but a passage of scripture that became very important to me in my life was Galatians 2:20. I'm staked with Messiah. Nevertheless, I live, yet not I, but Messiah lives in me. In the life I now live in this flesh, I live by faith in the Son of Elohim, who loved me and gave himself for me. I have to remind myself of that pretty frequently. It's not I who live, but it's Mashiach living in me.
Amen.
That's an excellent point. For through Torah I died to Torah in order to live to Yahuah.
Mm-hmm.
I have staked with Mashiach, and I no longer live, but Mashiach lives in me.
Right.
See, so we have to stop interfering. You know, our unbelief interferes with the work of the Ruach. So how do we stop interfering? With our unbelief, with our denial, with not believing that the Yahushua can work through us like he did the first Nazarene.
Right.
Yeah, we're getting in his way. We need to remove ourselves from him and let him live through us. And then we'll see his works coming out of us. And then we never take the esteem for that, ever, ever, ever. And then you'll be in big trouble then.
Mm-hmm. We're either filled with self or we're filled with the Ruach.
Yeah, we have to get the self. We have died to shit.
Brother Mark Wyatt, can you say that was Galatians chapter what and verse what again, please?
2:20.
2:20.
2:20. Thank you.
2:20.
Anybody else?
Well, it's been a blessed study.
Oh my goodness, powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody turn to Colossians 3:1. And we're going to elaborate on Mark's comment there because it was a powerful comment. Let's Colossians 3, verse 1. We'll give people time to get there. I got to find it myself. Everybody there? Colossians 3, verse 1 through 4. Now listen to this real closely, keeping in mind what Mark Wyatt just shared. If then you were raised with Mashiach, so we were resurrected with Mashiach, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you were raised with Mashiach, seek the things which are above. Why? Because now we're spiritual children. We're no longer earthly children. We're not dustmen anymore. Where Mashiach is, seated at the right hand of Yahuah, which means Yahusha is sitting on the throne. He wields all power and authority. That's what that idiom means, that Hebraic idiom. Mind the things above, not those on the arets. So dwell on the things above. Why? Because you're allowing Yahusha to work.
Mm-hmm.
You're taking yourself out of the way. For you have died. See that? You've died. And your life has been hidden with Mashiach in Yahuah. You're sealed with the Ruach HaKodesh. You're hidden away with Mashiach in Yahuah. See, we no longer live. When the Mashiach, who is our life, see, Mashiach is our life. We're no longer alive. We have to get out of the way. Who is our life is manifested, and he is revealed at his second coming. Then you also shall be manifested with him in esteem. Why? Because you're going to be given your mortal bodies at that point. He's going to bring you out of hiding and give you your mortal bodies. Then you'll be esteemed with him because you'll have immortality. You see it? So we're dead, we're hidden away until the day of redemption. When he comes back and gives us our immortal bodies, then the cat will be let out of the bag. At that point, everybody will know who the sons of Yahuah are. So this is telling us what we were just kind of talking about. We need to get out of the way of the Ruach. Stop quenching the Ruach, man. Let him work through us, yield to him, believe in his power, in his blood, and mighty things will start happening through us. He'll work through us.
Yeah.
But when we start saying, I can't, and I and me, I can't, what are we doing? We're getting in the way of the Ruach.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. We're acting like it's us doing it, and we're dead. How can we can't do nothing. Without him, we can do nothing. So we might as well be dead. So I think this is powerful stuff. And then there's a lot of other verses in here that suggests that, or tells us, or teaches us that our body is the temple of Yahuah. It no longer belongs to us. So let's take a look at a few of those. Look at Romans 12:1 real quick. I don't know how long we should go here, but this is kind of an important subject, really. Very important. One of the most important ones we've had.
Might want to look at Romans 6 too, brother, if we have time.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get through this discussion, so we'll have time. We got to get this. This is tremendously important, vitally, really. Let's look at Romans 12:1 real fast. Romans 12:1. I call upon you, therefore, brothers, through the compassion of Yahuah, to present your bodies a living offering, set apart, well-pleasing to Yahuah, your reasonable worship. So our bodies have been basically, we present them to Yahuah for him to have the temple. So we give up our lives for him. Look at Romans 8 real quick. Go to Romans 8. Let's see. And where is it? Let's just look over here, 36. As it has been written, for your sake we are killed all yom long. We are reckoned as sheep of slaughter. So there's a fairly decent one. And then, Mark, you were talking about 6.
Yeah, that's a really powerful passage. Like verse 4 through 10, I guess.
Yeah. That's a powerful one. Let's start in 6:2 Romans. Or do you not know that as many of us as were immersed into Mashiach Yahusha were immersed into his death? Okay, so we're in the true pattern of Yahusha. We were immersed into his death when we went under the water, right? We were dead and being buried, is what this is saying. You were therefore buried with him. So we died. Now we are buried with him through immersion into death. See, our bodies have died. That as Mashiach was raised from the dead by the esteem of the Father, so also we should walk in newness of life. We're new creatures. We're spiritual children now with the spiritual Father. For if we have come to be grown together in the likeness of his death, see, we're dead, we shall be also of the resurrection. When we come up out of the water, we were resurrected as new creatures, Knowing this, that our old man was staked with him, that our body, flesh and blood bodies, was staked with him, so that the body of sin might be rendered powerless to serve sin no longer. So we've been relieved because we paid the price of death. Matter of fact, those who have the Ruach HaKodesh in them are powerless to sin. Why? Because we put the flesh off. The new creature sealed with the Ruach can't sin. In our reality, if we interfere, then we think, oh, well, I'm still walking in this sinful body, so I still sin every day. What are you doing? You're getting in the way of the Ruach HaKodesh with your unbelief. Is this a literal or spiritual matter we're talking about here? It's spiritual. This is what's happening in Yahuah's realm. This is how Yahuah sees things. So we yield to his sight and his vision and his knowledge and his wisdom, not our own. Or we get in his way. Just like that old man with his son. I believe, Master, but help me with my unbelief. Get me out of your way. Have your will in my life. Yeah, it's pretty powerful. That 6 is the whole chapter is powerful. Go ahead and read chapter 6 of Romans when you get a chance today, or whenever you have a chance to do it. Okay, let's look at 1 Corinthians 6. See what that says. 1 Corinthians 6. And that be over in verse 19 through 20, we'll say. No, not 19 through 20. 1 Corinthians 7. Oh, yeah, 6, 17 through 20. Okay. So here we go. 1 Corinthians 6, 17 through 20. And he who is joined to the master is one Ruach. That means you don't have your own Ruach. Your being is what? Sealed by him. It's together with him. Now you're married, right? Are you not married to him now? Yeah. So you're one creature now. So you're no longer two, you're one. One Ruach. Flee whoring. Every sin that a man does is outside the body. But he who commits whoring sins against his own body. Or do you not know that your body is the temple of the Ruach HaKodesh, who is in you, which you have from Yahuah, and you are not your own? It's not your body anymore. For you were bought with a price. Therefore, esteem Yahuah in your body and in your Ruach, which are of Yahuah. So this is basically telling us that our bodies are his temple now. They no longer belong to us. So we have to honor our bodies once we receive the Ruach HaKodesh, because we need to honor the temple of Yahuah and not desecrate the temple. So this is also revealing to us that our bodies aren't left in the watery grave. We're now the temple of Yahuah, his dwelling place. Well, so we don't want to desecrate his temple either. You know, that's not a good thing either. You know, drugs, alcohol, whoring, the likes, you know, our old habits, our old lifestyle. We're no longer living. We're not allowed to do them things. It's not our body anymore. It's the temple of Yahuah. And if you do those things again, you're desecrating the temple, and it may become a place that lays waste. Maybe your body will become an abomination of desolation because Yahuah is no longer in it. And if the Ruach leaves you, you're in big trouble. Once you have the Ruach, that is.
I have a question towards that.
Okay.
Okay, so I know that it's within us, our being, our Ruach is within us. Okay, so the flesh is no more. This is actually a question for when we pass. What is to be done with our flesh? Does it matter? Because I've heard, you know, oh, don't get cremated because it's a pagan ritual. I mean, obviously we can't have somebody collect our bones. So
Yeah.
I'm curious what your thoughts are on cremation or not. Does it matter because we are not of the flesh?
I would say we should not, but no matter what happens to our body, okay, Yahuah is very capable of recovering it. It reminds me of somebody in a war, and a mortar shell comes down and hits them right on top of the head and blows them to smithereens. Is Yahuah incapable of raising them back up from the dead?
Right. That, like, I've thought about it, a car accident. I mean, if I have a car accident, my car blows up and I'm burned. I mean, or somebody else decides what they're going to do with my body once I pass. I don't have the choice to say what they're doing.
Personally, I'll go out on a limb and say I don't think it matters what happens to your body. How about the astronauts in space, when the shuttles blew up, Can Yahuah recover them? Absolutely can. All right. I don't think it really matters. But with that said, the Hebrew often practice putting people in tombs or in caves, like throwing the rock over them. They didn't bury them in the ground. So there must have been some kind of tradition for them on what to do with the body, in which we know what they did. They cleaned the body up and they wrapped it with linen, strips of linen, kind of mummifying them in a sense, and laid them in a cave and put a rock across the entrance of it. That's what I would like to see happen to my body if I could choose. I don't like the thought of being buried in the ground, but does it really matter? I just really don't think it does, I don't think it's going to hinder him from raising you back up and then your body up and then turn it into immortality. Yahuah can do whatever Yahuah wants to do.
Right. Is there, I think, some evidence that the pagans did the funeral pyre because they believed that released the spirit to go back up and join with the great spirit in the sky?
Well, that's what the Indians did, right?
Right. The Native Americans and, a lot in the Far East, a lot of, they practice a lot of that in different cultures at different times down through the millennia, is what I've read. And that was the basic reason for it, is so their spirit could be released from their body and go join all the rest of the spirits up there.
Yeah. And so the burial included pagan rituals, which we shouldn't do. And so it doesn't matter, because at the second resurrection, everybody's going to be raised up. The sea gives up the dead. The graves give up the dead, whoever. There's the second resurrection. Everybody's going to be brought in front of the great white throne and judged by their words and their works. Mm-hmm. If their name is written in the Lamb's Book of Life, they're going to be a sheep and come into the covenant. And if they're a goat, then they're going to be thrown over on the left-hand side. Then they're going to be annihilated in the fire, where there will be weeping and gnashing of the teeth. So I don't think, what's going to happen with the burial ceremonies and rituals is not going to affect Yahuah judging us by our words and our works, because we're without excuse. Everyone is without excuse. Why? Because he revealed himself in his creation for us to understand his existence and his Torah. We can see it in nature and creation. And then he put it in, he created us with a conscious mind to know the difference between darkness and light, separated by the commandments.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gave us the written letter, the Torah, so that we would know all the sins and all the laws, the moral laws, written down in front of us. So the more we study Torah, the bigger sinner we become. And so if you know Torah, you'll be judged by Torah. If you don't know Torah, you'll be judged by your conscious mind in his creation. We'll be without excuse. We will have witnesses against us for sure. But if we get cleansed up and receive the Ruach HaKodesh, then we won't be judged, because second death has no power over the first resurrection group. Go ahead, Toria.
Okay, I just had a thought come to me. I know what I've read about when we pass, that we go into our rest, that it is said that we go into the edges of the earth, and like, I believe it's second Esdras. So if we go into our rest, could that be considered a tomb also? Or those that were put in and awaiting for the day of judgment, could that be our tombs? Not the actual flesh tomb?
No, our conscious being, who we really are, okay, goes to sleep upon the death of our body. Our vessel dies, our conscious falls asleep with the seed in it, though, right? Remember?
Right.
With Yahuah's seed. So that power that resurrected Yahushua will also resurrect us at the end. And so, no, I don't believe that we have a ghost and it's trapped in some tomb somewhere in Sheol or whatever. But I believe that's all just myths and fables. It's not, to me, it's not a reality, but I think our consciousness just sleeps. Okay, and whether that sleeps down in the ground with our flesh or sleeps somewhere else, I don't know. You know, I won't even pretend to know that. Anybody else? But we know it sleeps. We're told that many, many times.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, we sleep, man. Is it our fleshly body that sleeps? No, our fleshly body is turning back to dust. It ain't doing nothing but going back to dust. That's all it is a vessel. It's not who we really are. We'll all know each other when we get our immortal bodies. We'll all have the same character and personality and everything, though our memories may be lacking sin, you know, and bad things. I don't think we're going to have that. We're not going to be able to think about what we did before our sin or our loved ones that didn't make it or whatever. I think that will be wiped out of our memory, but we'll know each other. I'm almost sure of that, because we're sealed with the Ruach HaKodesh. He wants us who we are. You know, he doesn't want robots. You know what I'm saying? He wants more than that. He wants a relationship. He wants a bride, someone he can communicate with for eternity and have a relationship with. He wants to be able to talk to who you are. He doesn't want us to be walking around, I hear and obey. I hear and obey. I mean, what's that? I wouldn't want a bride like that with me for eternity, would you? No, he wants us for who we are, the way he made us. For sure, man. We'll know each other in our immortal bodies. Anybody else, man? Any other thoughts, questions? Danny, you got anything, brother? You look like you want to say something.
The only thing I had was, from dust we were made, and to dust we will return. And from that dust we will be raised again. So, as far as a consciousness and remembering and not remembering, I have no idea.
Yeah, let's not pretend we know everything for sure.
Right.
None of us do. But just what you said there, it does seem like the dust returns to dust, but then he raises up the bones, right? And the dust, he brings our bodies back up for sure, right? Just like the Ezekiel prophecy, the bones, he brings them up and he puts the ligaments back on them and makes them again. But then what? He changes them into immortality. Somehow he transforms our mortal bodies into immortality. It was probably the reverse engineering, okay, as he did when Adam and Yahuah fell. He changed their immortal bodies into flesh and dust. He can reverse engineer it back into immortality, no doubt. So I think to me, my opinion is that our consciousness just goes away or sleeps. Okay. Probably with our bodies. But then the ones that blew up in outer space and all this, or got totally destroyed with a bomb or something, or a nuclear blast or whatever, like over in Hiroshima and all that, where's their conscience? It's asleep somewhere.
Well, there is if you see a dead person, you could actually see that there is no spirit. There is nothing there. It's just a body. It's there. When somebody is in a coma or something, there is like a nefesh. There is something there. But when they're dead and gone, it's not there. It's next time. Unfortunately, if you have the opportunity to see a dead person, notice that.
Well, I actually was present when my mother passed, and I do have to say I did watch her life leave, even in her eyes. And it is.
Yeah, I don't think the body can live without the being, and the being cannot live without the body. They have to be alive, for sure. And I remember in Genesis, when Yahuah breathed into his nostrils, and he woke, and he started breathing on his own. He became alive, became a living creature. Remember that? It didn't say he put a ghost in him. He just says, and then breathing his nostrils, and he woke up and became a living creature. Go ahead, Dad. Dad, go ahead. You're muted, brother.
I just wanted to read from Koheleth, or Ecclesiastes 12:7. It says, "And the dust returns to the earth as it was, and the Ruach returns to Elohim who gave it."
Ah, what is that again? Ecclesiastes what?
Ecclesiastes 12:7.
Covered that last time, remember? The Ruach in that context means breath. Okay, so that doesn't mean a ghost. It just means his breath returned to him. Look, if you can accept it, Yahuah is our very breath that we're breathing right now. He keeps us breathing. He lays us down at night. He keeps us breathing. Okay, it's all him. He sustains life with his living breath. If he removes his living breath, all men would die instantaneously. Right now, all flesh would die if he removed his breath. So we're breathing him right now. We're sharing his living breath. He's the life giver. Life cannot exist outside of Yahuah. Yahuah and Yahuah alone gives us life. That's it. If he takes away his breath, we all die. If you don't believe me, hold your breath until you pass out. You're going to pass out if you don't receive the breath of the Ruach. Ruach means breath in that context. Don't get that mixed up. If you have that little, Lou gives you, in a lot of his books, he gives us, I don't know if you guys have this, but you can also look in any of his books, Fossilized Customs, it's all in there, but the Ruach, if I can find it. Why can't I find it? Oh, okay. So the definition of the Ruach here in this book, if y'all have it, on page 13, Ruach, breath, wind, breeze. That's it. It doesn't mean ghost at all. It's also known as spirit. If we are speaking of the Ruach HaKodesh, his spirit, you can add spirit to it, but that's really more of an English interference on that word. In Hebrew, it just basically means wind, breeze. or breath. It's the breath of life. So basically, the Hebrew has this tradition, if you will, that when we say Yahuah, we're supposed to have that growl through our throat, and Danny can do it really good. Yahuah, can you do that for us, Danny? Yahuah has a mild at the end.
Yahuah.
Okay, so what that is at the end is the breath of life. Really, if we leave that off of his name, then we're leaving out the breath of life that he gave man to become a living being. So when he breathed into Adam's nostrils, he breathed his name in there through his nostrils, Yahuah, and then he woke up and became a living being. And as our lungs, our bronchial tubes breathe in and out, and you listen, it says Yahuah. It's still saying his name because he breathed it into Adam's lungs. So a nurse can tell you, you can listen. There's things on the internet that allows you to hear it. It says, when we breathe, if you can listen to our lungs, his name's still in our lungs. He put it in there. That may be a Hebrew tradition, but it's not. It's true. If you listen into your heart, into your chest, a nurse can do it, you'll hear, that's what our breath sounds like. Powerful stuff, man. But he also put his name on our heart, Al Shaddai, the shin on our hearts. It's on our face. It's on our hands. And it's in our DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And that's his name, Yah. That's why the devil and the demons and the mad scientists all want to change our DNA to take the name of our DNA so they can attack us.
Right.
Crazy stuff. You know, we can go on about that, but good point, Dad. Anybody else, man, got something to say? Any comments, questions? Margaret's going to kill us because we'll be on here last. See, 11, 12, 1, I think 2.5 hours. It's been worse.
Shabath Shalom, brothers and sisters.
Nobody else? Everybody quiet now?
Shabbat Shalom to you, Brother Mark Wyatt.
Yeah, thank you.
Love you all.
Go ahead. Anybody? I'm going to get off. Nobody wants to talk.
Valerie wants to say
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Baruch atah b'shem Yahuah.
Anahagafa nataha natzarim. Rakaba b'shem Yahuah. Hebrew's fun, isn't it?
It is.
Okay, now don't forget next week now. Go ahead, Ted. Go ahead, Ted.
I was just gonna say, if nobody cares, might I read the blessing before we leave?
Oh, yes.
Sure, go ahead.
So next week are we doing the same thing?
Yeah, hang on. Let me make this announcement, Ted. So next week, we are not doing this. Okay, we're going to go back to NazareneLife.com, same as you always have. I won't be with you guys next week. Lou has promised to take the Zoom at noon. I think he's going to go over another subject. I don't think he's going to stay on Acts, but he will be there. So you'll be at NazareneLife.com at 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time next week. Okay, with Lou White, and then I'll be back the next week. And also, I won't be doing the Nazarene Live broadcast. Just coming up, but I'm not going to be doing that either. I'm going on vacation. Okay, so I won't see you guys for about 2 weeks. All right. So that's it. Does anybody else have anything to say? Any questions? Anything at all? No. You say, go ahead and say the blessing. Tat?
Yahuah bless you and guard you. Yahuah make his face shine upon you and show favor to you. Yahuah lift up his face upon you and give you shalom.
Amen.
Amen.
Well, love all of you. Thanks for coming. Thanks for all your input. And see you in a couple weeks.
All right, brother.
Shalom.
Shalom.